Good morning. Welcome to worship with Aldersgate. We're so glad to see you joining us online and here in the room on a Super Sunday. October 17th, we're calling it Super Sunday because we have a special focus today for a way that we can bless the community, in particular, our veterans. So today we're going to be focusing on veterans during the message time. We'll get to hear interviews with some veterans here, and we're going to stay for lunch for those of us who are in the building and have a special activity. I'm fired up. All right, my question for you this morning. I like to start with a question. Get your mind flowing on the topic of the day. What is the best way to show someone that you love them? What is the best way to show someone that you love them? All right, and with that, again, welcome to our friends online. Remember to drop your prayer requests in the comments, and we'll make sure to pray for you at the end of the service. I will turn it over to our musicians.
It's good to see you in person. I'm so glad. And we have just a minute to spend with you before it's time for Sunday school. You all have a special activity off in, I think it's classroom 1 today. Yeah, we've been outside sometimes because the weather's been so nice. So we're really glad to have you here. And I'm going to ask ask the same question to you that I asked to the adults first, which is, what is the best way to show someone that you love them? How do you like to do that? Give a hug, yeah. What else can you do? Okay, giving them something, yeah, like a gift, yeah. Trusting them. That's a pretty good answer to that, yeah. When we think about, I mean, it's not Valentine's Day right now, but when we think about how do you show love, people are like, oh, flowers and chocolates, right? Things like that. The Bible has an answer for us on how we show people that we love them or how we demonstrate love. And it comes, well, it's all throughout the Bible, but one place that you can find it is in the Gospel of John, when Jesus says to his disciples that nobody shows love greater than when they lay down their life for their friends. Lay down their life. That's sort of intense, right? But I think what that can mean is when you serve, when you give a little bit of your life, when you serve the people around you that you love. So when you serve people around you, what you do is you help them with something that they need. Like we heard, give a hug, right? You can give, yeah, I'm sure Jesus gave lots of hugs. You know, do you know something? I don't think and he did, yeah. If people's hearts were hurting, maybe he gave them a hug, right? It's a good thing to do. Or if a parent asks you, or a teacher asks you, or a sibling asks you to do something, that you would trust them, right? You give them what they need. So if, let's just say, I'll use my daughters as an example. We already have eggnog in our house. I'm sorry, I have to tell you something very important right now. We already have eggnog, it's in season. So what if Lucy said, hey Eva, would you get me some of that delicious eggnog? And Eva said, sure, I love you, I'll serve you, I'll give you what you need. And she brought over a steaming cup of black coffee. Would that be serving? Would that be loving? No, because it isn't what she needs, right? So that means that we need to pay attention to what people are telling us they need and serving them, giving a little piece of our life for them. Today we're talking about people who have served in the military. People who have served in the military have given us as a country what we need. They've given us protection, right? Defense as a country. Like your grandfather. Yeah, he's one. We have a lot of people who serve. We call them veterans, right? Military veterans. And they served our country by giving us something that we need very much to stay safe as a country, which is protection and defense. So they have been like Jesus because they've served. They've given a part of their lives. They've given us what we need. Let's have a moment of prayer. Lord God, thank you for the example of Jesus, who shows us how to serve others by giving our lives, giving a part of our lives in service. God, we ask that you would help us to notice what people need and that we would care to do those things. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. All right, well, you all may go right on off to the Sunday school. And I have a camera switch that I need to do just manually right here, so please forgive me. I'm going to do just right like this. I'm back. All right, so I'm going to read the scripture lesson this morning because the sermon this morning is coming to us in the form of an interview with veterans from Aldersgate. We have 3 of them, and we worked very hard and diligently leading up to this to see if we could allow people who are joining us remotely to also watch this video of interviews. And unfortunately, we weren't able to figure that out before the service went, but we have a plan for you. What we're going to do is I'm going to set it up so you know what the interview contains, and then we're going to drop the YouTube link for it. For you who are watching remotely, listen to the setup and then look for the YouTube link to drop, and then you can go right over and access that video at home. But we will be ending the broadcast early because of that, because the interviews can't go across. Someday we will be perfect in all things, but we're not there yet. So this morning what we're going to be hearing is from 3 different veterans from Aldersgate, from 3 different generations. I sort of love this. It came to me as a little brainchild because we said we wanted to talk about veterans, and I have not served in the military, and I have nobody in my immediate family who served. And I said,
I feel like I don't know what to say, and I said, why don't we let the vets speak for themselves? So first, we'll hear from Al Abjian, who is a World War II veteran, and then we'll hear from Jim Duggan, an Army in the Vietnam conflict, and then Chuck Helm, who served for a long time, including 3 tours in Iraq. So 3 different generations. I'm going to spell out to you, for those in the room, a little bit of what Al Abjian is going to say to us. I think that Al is 95 years old. 94, 96, something like that. He is up in years, and so are his vocal cords. So it's a little hard to understand Al. So I want to prompt you for what you'll be hearing from him so that you'll be able to follow along better. Al served as a Navy signalman, meaning he waved flags to give signals with convoys of supply ships that went from the East Coast through the Panama Canal and to the South Pacific. So you'll hear him talking about going through the canal. I was like, the Erie Canal? Nope. The canal, the Panama Canal. He'll tell you that he started out in artillery. He went to artillery school and became a hot shell man. Does anyone know what a hot shell man is? I didn't either. That was hard for me to understand when he said, people who catch the shells that come out of the guns. We got jaws dropping. They wear big gloves to do that. Didn't like it. And so he went into signals, to being a signalman. So he'll talk about that. He'll talk about his tours. And then he'll tell us about a time that he went to church in Australia. So I hope you're able to hear Al okay, and you all will also have the YouTube link if you care to watch later. When I put earphones on, I can hear it crystal clear. All right. What's that? Okay, hold on. So Facebook, we're dropping the YouTube link so that you can click right over to there. And before you go, we want you to know that we're having a Halloween event here on Saturday, October 30th from 10:30 to 11:30 out in the parking lot, a trunk or treat. We'd love for you to come, to bring a decorated car, or just come trick or treat. So that link is also going to drop. I wanted to make sure you knew about that. Okay, so Facebook, please put your prayer requests in there. I promise that we're praying for you this week. We will follow up with you that way, and God bless you.
So Al, would you tell me what branch of the military you served in and your rank and when you served?
Yes, I was a naval signalman. That was my job in the Navy. Mm-hmm. And I started off in the very beginning going to boot camp, which is routine. After they give you the boot camp, telling you the right and the wrong way to do things, they sent you to a school. Mm-hmm. And I went to a artillery gun school down in Little Creek, Virginia. I was then transferred to what they call the Armed Guards Line. That was a group of signalmen, radiomen, and gunners that they stationed on these supply ships that served these convoys. Mm-hmm. And our job was to protect them from aircraft and submarines.
And what years did you serve, Al?
I think it was from 43 to about 45, late 45. When I first went on my first ship, I was a 3-inch 50 hot shellman. Okay. But that was it, fired a gun, the shell would shoot out, and my job was to catch it and throw it out of sight or overboard or whatever. They gave it a long gloves, and mm-hmm. I did not like that.
Okay.
And I said to the officer, any openings, get me in there.
Yeah.
And so, in the meantime, I had made friends with a signalman, an older guy, and his name was Mitch. And I got very friendly with him. And he taught me, and he got a big kick out of the signals, blinkers, semaphore, some of the flag hoists, and I stayed with it. And then the other signalman got sick, I stepped in, I was all set. But I got down to chow, And they say, hey, Flags. That was my name, by the way.
What?
If you're a signalman, your nickname is Flags. If you're a carpenter, your nickname is Nails.
Okay.
That kind. If you're a radioman, your name is Sparks.
Okay.
So my first trip was on a tanker. I'm from New Jersey over in a convoy to England, and made a couple of stops there, and we came back to Brooklyn, picked up another load, and then we went down toward Virginia, out that way through the canal to the eventual destination was the South Pacific. And we were out there about 7 months or something, just long.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I like to be sarcastic, but I guess they had no other place for us to go. So they sent us back through the canal, back to England again.
Okay.
And made a couple of trips back and forth there. And we were there when they invaded D-Day. I was there for D-Day, and it was something else. And
What are you most proud of in your military service?
okay, that I was able to make such a quick adjustment from civilian life to military life.
Mm-hmm.
I never was away from home before.
Mm-hmm.
I went to their training camp and all of their all the transfers, they had 3 different ships, and I was up to sea most of the time. Very few times I got revenue, and I was able to hang in there. I liked the ships, I liked the crew, got along good with them. I learned how to, take everybody at face value, if you will, and don't be yourself.
Right.
Be yourself. I found don't try to be something that you're not. But the one I remember the best was in Australia. We pulled in there. We were not in dock. We were anchored off, and we got a ride in. And I could get ashore for a couple hours to take a quick look, and I saw, of all places, an Episcopal church there.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to the ship, and I said to the guys, I'm going to this church. Anybody want to join me? And they, well, what are you, Catholic? No, I'm a Episcopal, but they'll take anybody. And, yeah, they
right.
would.
Yeah.
And so I got about a half a dozen of them, and we dressed up in blues and all that stuff, and we marched up to them. But before I did that, I asked them, I went up to the church and I asked one of the ushers, we'd like to go to church. Could you possibly make some room for us? And he looked at me like, he said, you come up here, we'll make the room for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and told the guys, we're all set. So we marched up, went to the service, and some didn't know, they weren't Episcopal, but they wanted because it was church.
Mm-hmm.
It was a God-related thing, and they didn't care what you were.
That's right.
Yeah. They didn't ask.
Take all kinds.
Yeah, I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't go. If it's not Catholic, I can't go. I didn't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
They jumped in there and they were happy as anything else. But the thing was, after the service, it was on a Sunday, of course. Every single one of us were personally invited by one of the members of the congregation to go home to their home for Sunday dinner.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Everything, all different.
Good job, Australians.
Yeah,
Good for them. Yeah.
Never forget that.
Hi, I'm Jim Duggan. I was in the United States Army from late 1968 to 1970, and I had the rank of Specialist 5. Served my entire time in Washington, D.C.
Okay, and what were you doing in D.C.?
In D.C., I was in a systems unit, United States Personnel Information Command. They were installing major new systems in the Pentagon.
Okay.
And for some very unique reason, I was able to, with my schooling, get assigned to the Pentagon in the middle of the Vietnam conflict. So it was a unique assignment.
I bet you and your family are very thankful for that.
In many ways, yes. Yeah. Most proud of the fact that I was able to serve my country. During the Vietnam conflict, being in the military was not kind of in vogue. It was not something that was really the thing to do. But my dad was in World War II, served very honorably, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me, thinking of him, to be able to serve the country. I think the biggest thing there was I had just come out of school, and I had gone for computers, and this is in the late 60s, so this is pretty new in the world.
Computers were the size of rooms.
Oh yeah, no, they really were.
Yeah.
They were very, very large. And they were making some changes in Washington, D.C. And here's a young kid getting out of school with no real experience, but the Army's recognizing what your skill set may be, and sent me to Washington, D.C. They sent me through school, too. They sent me up to Bethesda, Maryland, to enhance what they needed for their skill set in the job that I was going to be doing. So I was incredibly proud that they recognized what I was doing in school, what they needed for their particular, specialty, and the fact that I got chosen. I was just very proud that I was able to do this. I remember when you're going into middle school, you're going into high school, you're going into college, these are big life changes. And it was nothing compared to going into the military.
Total change.
Completely different. It focused my attention on being an agent of change.
Okay.
This was a fantastic upgrade for what they wanted to do. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They knew how they wanted to do it. And they wanted to select the team, put it together to get it to actually work. And through that whole process, it made me think about change in and of itself, because change comes in like a good package and then not so good package.
Yeah.
And we all have to deal with those things.
We've had a not so pleasant change the last year and a half or so, right?
And it helps your mind cope with those not too pleasant ones. It really does. It's easier to build and expand on the ones that go very well for you. But I think that's helped me through my entire life. I think I was very concerned about this coming out of the service in Vietnam, because I don't want to say you were not looked favorably on as a military person.
I've heard that.
But it just, it was a non-event for what you did and what you thought you were doing for your country and everything else. And it bothered me. It bothered me a lot. It was, I should say maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise, but it was a surprise. I would say that to a certain extent, they don't understand that you're donating your time. Yes, you're getting paid. I understand you get a salary, but you're really donating a lot of your life to help your country. Right. And there are men and women that go around the world. They have jobs that are very, very dangerous, much more dangerous than the position I happen to be in. And I don't think there's a full grasp on that all the time. But realistically, it's starting to change. The country, the people, it's morphing a little bit. To give you a little example of what happened to me just recently, earlier in the year, I was renewing my license, and I wanted to get that little veterans logo thing down there to say that, hey, I was a veteran, and have it put on my license. I was proud of being able to do that. And as I handed all the documentation to the person that was taking it for the registry, I then handed them the veterans' information and everything else. And the woman looked at it and said, "Very good, Jim, thank you for your service." I got goosebumps.
Good.
What a change where we are now from where I left the service, the active duty. And so I think we're going in a wonderful direction. And made me very proud of that. Even talking about it now, I get a little choked up on it. It really hit me right away because my life was completely different now. And it wasn't something I was really used to. And going to the chaplain on a Sunday, we usually had time off in basic training and everything else, gave me some really good focus on who I was as a person and what I should be. You know, kindness in that environment is where you really need to get your mind going. Through the good times and the not so good times, I guess we would say, I always felt that I had someone with me. I have to make my own decisions. I have to do what is right myself. You know, I'm the conscious one that's going to be able to drive my life forward. But it just never was alone. And that gave me a feeling of calmness and focus. And it really made me, in many ways, who I am today, that journey.
My name is Charles Helm. I was in the Army for 14 years, got out as a staff sergeant, and my job was transportation specialist.
All right. And where did you serve? Where did you go?
I was in Louisiana, then I went to Germany, and we went to Hawaii, and I served 3 times in Iraq.
Okay. And when did you get out?
I got out in 2013. So,
okay. So a little ways back. Yeah. And Chuck, what are you most proud of in your military service?
I'm most proud of having the opportunity to serve something greater than myself, to serve the community and to serve the nation and put myself behind that and make that the focus. I'm very proud of that.
Absolutely. And what would you say is the biggest life lesson that you took away?
Oh, there are so many life lessons. But
name a few.
My biggest life lesson is that everybody needs to be treated fairly, and everybody needs to be treated with respect. And it's important because you may not see eye to eye with that person that you're serving with, but you're both on the same team, and they deserve respect for what they do every day.
Yeah, that's great. What do you think that civilians don't understand about military service?
I think most civilians don't understand the sacrifice that a service member does in just everyday activities, let alone when they're deployed. Some of them is working long hours, working 24, 48 hours at a time, missing family on holidays because you're in a training exercise, and just everyday sacrifices like that. Most people just don't realize. Most people think that we work short hours and we have every weekend off, and it's just not true. There's a lot of sacrifices that you do every day that most people in this civilian world just don't see.
Yeah. And Chuck, while you were serving, when did you see God or feel closest to God?
Oh, that one is pretty simple.
Okay.
I seen God most often after a mission in Iraq, when we would all come back as one unit without having any casualties, or even better, without having to shoot at anybody or engage in the enemy. That is when I seen God the most.